Hey guys, what's up? It's Paul with the MIDCONVO podcast, and I'm here with Edward Lee, and we have a guest today. Ed, what's up?
We have with us Kofi Yeboah, DP, cam up, and YouTuber, and we're super excited to get him onto the podcast because we're going to be diving into a few different topics regarding being a creator, like modern day creator, also working with clients, and how you're able to maximize your output productivity wise, and just we all have the same 24 hours, but for some reason, not everyone is able to get the same done in the same 24 hours. So we're excited to get into this one. You know what the deal is. Let's roll that intro music. What's good, Kofi?
Let's go.
This is the funniest way of doing a podcast because it's in Toronto. You guys aren't from Toronto. I am. And I find that even when you're in Toronto driving for an hour, you're still driving in Toronto. So like coming from the west end here, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. And it's like maybe a 10-mile drive. Stuck
in some major traffic for this. So we appreciate you coming out for this conversation. Great. It's actually cool because I feel like we've connected here and there online. We have a lot of mutuals, actually. I know that we know a lot of the same people. But for those who are listening, let's go like straight into it. We said DP, cam up, YouTuber. How are you positioning yourself right now? Like how much of your work is client work? How much of your work is YouTube? What's the split here?
So this year specifically, it's like 75% YouTube, 25% client work.
Wow.
Nice. How long have you been in the YouTube game?
So I think the first couple videos I posted were like 2024. So like maybe like 2020, 2021. But I think in the span of like 20 and 2021, maybe I posted like 12 videos. So when people ask me, I'm like, I started in 2020. I really started in like 2022, really. It's about 2 years, I would say.
It's a difficult like medium to grow on, a difficult platform. I know there's a lot of people listening to this podcast right now thinking, how the heck do I grow on YouTube? And how the heck am I supposed to build a YouTube channel while also trying to make money as a creator? Because as you know, in the beginning, there ain't no checks coming from Google. When you're first starting out, you actually there's like a way, you have like a certain subscriber count you have to hit, certain watch time, and then they start sending you a check. So there's a lot of like blind faith a little bit you got to like have in yourself, in your channel. Is that something you've always just like had? Is that something you're struggling with? Or how do you have the motivation to continue just like grinding on the platform?
I think I do have a lot of reckless abandon. So like sometimes if I decide I'm going to do something, I'll put it in my head and be like, no, you have to, like, you don't have an option. And I did that with freelancing too. So like when I started, once I kind of quit my jobs or I was fired from some of them, I'm like, oh, cool. I have 68 hours a week to do whatever I want. Well, what if all of that was doing things that made money? I did it for another company with 40 hours. I have 68 now. This is awesome. Same thing with YouTube. And what's cool about YouTube, we were talking about this before about sports and like physical activity. There's a limit on physical activity where your body breaks down or you don't recover enough. With YouTube, no one stops you from putting out as much as you feel like it. Like you could post every day if you wanted to. Don't recommend it, but you could. And knowing that there's such a free reign on how many times you can come to bat, the most amount that you can do that's still sustainable to have life and also like freelance and stuff like that, that for me was interesting. So I was like, oh, cool. Like I could post an unlimited amount of videos a month whenever I'm not freelancing. And also because the channel had to do with video production as you're freelancing, everything then becomes content that you can use, right? So it never was two separate things. A lot of times one kind of depended on the other.
That's so dope. I'm so curious for people that are listening. It's like, how did you go from videographer to YouTuber? Like when was that first video project? Like how long ago? And then also, what did that look like? Are you like, is that your main thing today that's fueling YouTube, or like, how does that get broken up?
So I think what ended up happening was, in some of my freelance life, I was freelancing for other YouTubers, right? So I had freelanced a bunch in the fitness industry. I had worked on a bunch of channels. I've worked with Mark Bowen a bunch. I shot with Will Tennyson for about 2 years. I've been working with like people in both the filmmaking space and the fitness space. And what ended up happening was I started to realize, I'm like, oh wait, there's not a lot of difference from like a person, like a human aspect between myself and the person that I'm shooting. And if they have enough success to hire me to shoot their videos, what's not to say that I could just be the person that makes the video that eventually hires the other person to make the videos?
Wow.
If that makes any sense, right? And when you realize that, you just start also accepting that like, hey, first videos, they're going to suck. Like really badly.
Yeah.
I can go back to stuff in like January 20. There's a clip, I think in the second video of January 2022, where my intro is me chugging a 4-liter bottle of water. and I make you sit through it.
Oh, that's legendary.
I make you sit through the whole thing, and it's a slow dolly zoom. The video's about like how to have retainer contracts for your clients, but I decided that was a thing that I wanted to make. And when I did it, I thought that was hilarious. So when I look at it now, I'm like, you're an idiot,
bro.
Right? But stuff like that.
I think
like,
that's awesome.
You
but
get
yeah.
better over time with doing
Totally.
stuff. But yeah, that's how it works.
I think there's a lot of people that might be, following you on YouTube or just checking your stuff out right now. And it's like the first thing that comes to mind is how are you able to fund like YouTube when you're also having to maybe work with clients on the freelance side? Like, what does that look like?
So YouTube, like how it worked back then before like sponsorships and AdSense and affiliates and stuff like that, how it worked before was I worked in the fitness niche a lot, and maybe in the corporate niche every now and again. Oftentimes they're not the biggest budgets in the world. So the compromise that I would make is that I'm like, all right, cool, XYZ fitness company, you don't have the budget that normally would be a going rate. How about I use the stuff that we shoot today and I make YouTube content out of it? So technically, clients are funding it.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, they're like, oh, we get extra BTS footage. Yeah, we're not going to stop you. So that's kind of how things work. Now, as you get to bigger and bigger sets, there's NDAs. And like when you're working with bigger crews, that doesn't fly that well. But like if you're working in a crew of like 1 to 6 and you're not like working with a big distributor, most of the time you could, if you ask,
Get away with it.
no one's going to. I just did a corporate shoot for the Canadian Arthritis Association, like not a long time ago, like maybe like last week.
Hey.
And I'm like, hey, can I shoot BTS? Like I have this lens review I have to do. And they're like, yeah, do we get the BTS? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. They're like, yeah, okay, why would we tell you no?
Nice.
And then that ends up becoming extra content for this brand to use if they so happen to want to use it. And then you also get this dope review on some DZO lenses.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do really feel like for any successful YouTuber, I even sometimes run into this with my own channel. In order to be consistent on YouTube, it does kind of need to be an extension of what you're already doing, especially when you're first starting out, because the funds are not really massive quite yet. If you try to reinvent the wheel for every video and you try to do something totally outside of your normal routine, you're not going to have enough fuel in the tank to keep it going.
Yep.
You need to basically start a YouTube channel and make content that comes natural to you, or it's already an extension of what you're already doing with like 80% of your time.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And if you can make content around something you're already doing 80% of the time, and the 20% is spent like, editing a video or whatever, I've noticed that those types of creators usually outlast everyone else, because they're just kind of living their life and they're documenting it. Whereas some people are trying to create like a movie for every single video. They'll make like a banger, which also works on YouTube. You could be that type of person who makes like one banger once a month, but those are very rare. Like usually you have to be somewhat consistent on YouTube to grow.
Well, like I think everyone kind of starts from somewhere, right? Like oftentimes when you do see those banger videos that come out once a month, they're usually from creators that either have a lot of resources to do so.
Yeah, true.
Or they have massive followings and they have the time to do it, right? So there is sort of a ladder you have to kind of go up to actually earn your way up there, right? And one of the things I like a lot about doing YouTube is I want to work hard enough where I could earn the space to do that. So for me, I'm like, okay, like that might be like a 100% effort. I'm still operating at like 75% because as long as I get used at 75, when it comes time to do that, I'm not going to burn out or not finish it.
Wow.
Right. But I do find also with like doing things that are close to your own life, also, I don't think anyone expects any different from you. I think that's an expectation creators put on themselves. Because what you do is, and often people do this, we'll start at anything and they'll look at like the upper 5%. And they'll be like, I want to be the upper 5%. Like you'll get a kid in like 7th grade that's looking at the NFL. And he's like, I want to run like an NFL running back. And I'm like, well, you haven't even got through puberty yet. Get through Pop Warner first. Like play on the high school varsity team.
Totally, yeah.
You're looking at the NFL, like they're so far away from each other, right? And there's so many things that happen between your first 1,000 subscribers and having 100,000 subscribers and doing these massive video projects, no matter if you're in the filmmaking niche or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of understand that like when you're starting out, that 5%, you're seeing the 5% now, go back to like 5 years ago when they were making videos and like try to match that guy. And you'll be better off by the time you get to the same place that person is.
Wow, that's good.
I want to dial back the timeline a little bit, like pre-YouTube. I guess like you've been on YouTube for a while now, so maybe let's go back to when you're doing a lot of client work. Like this year you said the split was like 75-25, but let's go back to the time when you're doing a lot of client work. You were like just getting into holding a camera. You're getting those like couple $100 gigs, then it travels to like $500 gigs to $1,000 to $2,000, etc. Can you walk us through that time period and how you were able to navigate your time, but also charging enough money to fuel like getting new cameras and investing into your business. Like go back to like early Kofi days working with fitness YouTubers or like brands.
So when I started? I started March 2018, which actually is like 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago. I think the first video I did was like $150. And I think what was helpful was I had a financial economics degree. So I understood the graph of supply and demand. And if you have a very low price and you have a very high supply, you'll do a lot of work, but you'll never reach a certain threshold. So that every so often, it was almost like every 3 months or so, I would like bring the price up by like $50 or $100 or $200, whatever. And eventually I'm like, you know what, we'll do something wild. Let me double it and see what happens. Because if I double it, technically half the people will show up. And when you're doing so much work, when your prices are super low and you find that you're working all the time, your prices are too low. And you don't and that's usually how I tell people to price projects is that like, hey, if you're shooting 4 days a week, you might be too cheap, bro. Like, unless it's a big project, like you might be too inexpensive. Right. So I started to find that threshold of like, well, what's the amount of shooting that I'm comfortable with and I can still do other things, but I'm also not like shooting 3 days a week, editing for 4 every single day for 2 years straight. And you kind of play that game where you're like, okay, let me raise the price a bit. Hard part is though, sometimes when you're in the same niche, you have a ceiling, you have a lower ceiling. So then you start to have to sort of innovate. And that's kind of where like 2020 to 2021, ironically during the pandemic, because you're stuck inside, I started learning about the difference between kind of being, I guess, like a videographer and kind of just like taking my A7 III and a 24-70 to how to light, why you want to move a camera instead of running around with a gimbal all the time. And when that happened, that was kind of the light bulb moment of like, oh, you can double your price now. It's way different than the 2019 guy. So then you do that 2020, 2021. And then by the time you get to 2022, you've done both things. You've increased your skill set and increased your price point, but you have just a slightly uncomfortable amount of client stuff.
Yep.
Right? Like it's a push, but like it's not all the time. January to March is still slow, and it's slow for everybody, no matter how low your prices are. And that's why I started to work with a little bit more on the YouTube side of like with other channels and stuff like that. And then you make that transition when you start making a little bit of income.
That's fire. All right. Because we're talking about pricing, we love asking our guests, what is a project that sticks out in your mind as being like one of the bigger budgets you've seen? And it's a budget that is your take home, maybe not crew, but like, you remember hitting it, the invoice going out, it hitting your bank account and you're like, wait, this is an aha moment.
I have the biggest price that was a surprisingly small amount of time.
Wow.
I think I had to do a corporate shoot. It was like 2 years ago. It was like 20. It was just before I started doing YouTube. I think the shoot was like 2 hours. I got paid $6,000.
Nice.
Didn't have to edit anything. Came in 3-camera setup. I had 2 assistants, second op, and it was for a larger company. Like I think it was for a government company, and I think I got paid I think the invoice was like $6,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got paid on the day. So like the shoot was at 9. I was at home. My house at like 12:30.
Yeah.
And I was paid by 2:15.
Oh.
And I was like, it felt like just random. It kind of felt like random money got into my account, but I didn't do anything because I was still in the same day. So I was like, okay,
bro.
Like I don't know what I'm gonna. I bought stupid things. That's what I did with it. But like, yeah, that in terms of like sticks out of my mind, that would be it. Because I think what ends up happening is that, especially in the fitness space, in a aggregate you can make a lot of money, but like you get it, like it's so much volume that in your head, like it makes sense because you're doing so much work. So in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been paid
endless
like
deliverables.
Exactly. I've been paid larger sums of money.
Yep.
But I also had to like nearly have all my hair fall out. I'm bald now, right? So like you have to go through so much stress that like even though at the end of the year you're like, oh, I did pretty good. You're like, yeah, but like you know that Infinity War, with like young Gamora, like Thanos is like, I got what I wanted, and then like the little Gamora is like, well, what did it cost you? And he's like, everything. That's me at the end of the year every single year. Like once it's like December, when I was doing a lot of more fitness work, I'm like, oh great, like hey, you made some good bread, bro. And you're like, yeah, but what did it cost you? I'm like, okay, well, I gained 30 pounds. I haven't trained. I have no friends. Like,
bro.
So your perspective has changed a bit.
Yeah, 100%.
My question then is like in this very moment, you led by saying 75% YouTube, 25% client work.
Yeah.
So like, What does that look like now on the 25% side? Are these brands coming to you? Are you going to them? What does that look like?
They're coming to me. And I think what ended up happening is, and it's interesting too, because I tried so hard to run away from the fitness industry. As soon as YouTube started paying a little bit, I ghosted pretty much every client but one.
Wow.
But what ended up happening was a lot of the reason why the content was good was because the medium that I was performing in, and because I was doing so much like of that fitness work stuff. And I'm like, oh, that was like, in my mind, I'm like, I actually enjoyed doing it. I just didn't enjoy all the other stuff that came with it. Not getting enough budget, dealing with nightmare clients, like all that other stuff I didn't like. I'm like, I like DPing with athletes. And even outside of the gym, like dancers or other sports and stuff, that was fun. All the other stuff I didn't like. But now YouTube kind of funds that through like brand partnerships and stuff. So now I don't have to worry about those clients. So I started doing that kind of stuff. And then that 25% were like, oh yeah, we want what that good stuff looks like. And we'll give you the money of the good stuff on retainer, thankfully.
Nice.
So I do keep a couple of retainer clients. Like I've had one supplement company I've worked with since 2021.
Oh, wow. That's a long time. Yeah.
I just signed up, and it was interesting because when I started doing video, there was a lot of commercial photographers in the fitness space. All of them didn't do video. But at the time, video wasn't as high in demand. Now it's super high in demand, and a lot of these commercial photographers have these giant clients with giant budgets. And there's only a couple people that do video in the fitness space, which was nice. So I have that as another retainer as well. So I have about 3 supplement companies that paid a pretty decent amount per month to do stuff, and it still gives me the time to make YouTube content and do other things, right? So,
dang.
That's literally the 25%, and it's kind of the Drake no new friends. I'm like, I don't want anything else but this. Like, this is the perfect amount of work that I want to take on. I want nothing more from like a client side of things, unless it's a commercial project that like once the project is done, I go back to normal life.
Wow.
Yeah. But I wouldn't take on another retainer client at all because it would interfere with doing a lot of the other stuff I want to do.
You found like the sweet spot for yourself, like in terms of retainer client, what feels manageable to you? What's like the sweet, like you could make more money with signing on more retainer clients, but it's not a money thing. It's more of like, this is a good manageable part. Yeah. No, that's super good.
Off the mic, you were talking about how you are now with an agency or a rep.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of freelancers, especially people that listen to MIDCONVO, they're the ones going out and doing outreach. Brands are going to them maybe through Instagram or through their contact form. What made you go from kind of doing it all, I'm guessing, like doing the invoicing, going out and finding the clients or just negotiating, to now having an agency that kind of represents you? How did that happen?
So it's more of a workflow change. So like the retainer client stuff and not taking anything else, I don't have to sign any more clients. Like from a freelance standpoint, I don't want to sign any more clients under that workflow. So when I do have that kind of stuff, like I'll write a contract and a couple invoices when I have that stuff. From the social media brand partnership side of things, I started with an agency like fairly early. Like I think I had 10,000 or 12,000 subscribers, and that was like last April, like around last April. And my whole thing was like, well, I'd rather take 85% of something than 100% of zero. So when you got to pay your agency fee, I'm like, yeah, cool. I did one brand deal and I got like $500, and I'm like, awesome. Didn't see anything for months after that. Side with an agency, had some sort of representation of someone kind of putting my name out there. And yeah, you got to give up your 15%, but like 15% on a $2,500 sponsor is a lot more than 100% of the 500.
Yep.
So that's kind of what, like, that was my decision to do it too. And then what ended up happening was, for me personally, because that money comes off the top, I don't think about it. It's not like, and also with what's nice being Canadian is that when companies pay in US, like even taking out like income tax and all that other stuff, you're still pretty close to the number they gave you in the first place. Yeah. You talk about like the Canadian conversion.
Oh,
so
yeah.
For me, I'm like,
conversion.
Oh, this is great. Like if someone says $2,000 when I got to do all the conversions and take out PayPal fees and agency fees and pay your, like, once you've done all that, I'm like, I'm so closer to the number they initially said.
Because it's USD, 2,000 like, USD versus 2,000 Canadian. Yeah.
Like, I'm so that's interesting, closer than I thought I would. Okay, cool. And it's an amount of money where I'm fine with, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the decision to go with an agency, was kind of have that someone else that's kind of on your behalf. I think maybe as I get bigger, if things go like crazy, right, where you might be in a retainer situation where now I don't necessarily need to reach out to new brands. You're just working with the same people and the budgets are getting higher and higher. Maybe that changes. But for now, I'm like, yeah, especially if you're someone that's not at like the top 1%. Mm-hmm. I think finding the right agency makes sense, right? Finding the right people to partner with. But ultimately, like, if you're someone who's not making any money from some of the content you're making, what's like you get $1,000 deal from an agent and you take $850, that's $850 more dollars a year.
Totally. That's nice. I like that perspective.
When it comes to client work, or just in general, like brands too that you work with on the YouTube side, I feel like some freelancers have a disconnect between why they're not getting a call back. Like maybe a brand deal didn't work out, or maybe a client work, they shot it, and in their mind, they're like, dude, we slayed that.
Yeah.
But crickets, like they don't hear back from them. What has been your experience on, one, landing retainer clients, but two, just like getting a call back from people you work with, is aside from obviously being talented and knowing how to shoot in a video, is there some other things that you keep in mind that you feel has contributed to getting that call back?
I don't necessarily know if it directly correlates to getting the call back, but until proven that I should do otherwise, I'm always looking for work. So like if I finish a client project, honestly, I'm gonna go find your competitors. And then I'm gonna tell them like, hey, like I know that like I did this big in the supplement game. I had done stuff for Precision, and I don't even know if that's business anymore. And then I took that work and I'm like, hey, other supplement company, like here's some stuff that I did. Y'all might like that. What was it? BPN.
Nice.
And then I took stuff from BPN and I'm like, hey, so C4.
Yeah.
If you ever decide to shoot in Canada, here's some things you could have, right? Like you just keep going the round
That's
robin,
cool.
right? That's something that I kind of kept in mind because you can't control if someone calls you back. You have maybe a client goes out of business. Maybe they don't have the budget. Maybe they're still running those video ads where they don't need new stuff from you, right? But like those aren't things you could control. But I could control, it's the same with YouTube. You can control your output. Like I could control how many people I reach out to, and sending an email with a link of stuff you've already done takes a couple seconds. Like you already have the website. You just have to send an email. And if you don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, and you could make that a part of your day, especially if you're not busy. Y'all got time. Like you have nothing but time to reach out to people. So then just make that kind of the focus until you don't have to reach out to anybody anymore. Right? It's more about controlling what you can control.
I like that because I think it shows the mentality of being proactive versus reactive, which, man, being a creative right now in just, I don't care if you're in Toronto or Texas, or wherever you are in the world, I think it's such an incredible time to leverage the industry and like how digital marketing is going with social and all the things, YouTube. But it goes to show that, dude, the way that you approach YouTube is also the way that you approach your own client work, and that you take it very serious and that you're proactive. And I think like, if you're not going to get it, someone else will get it. Right. But
That's facts.
I think I want to shift to output because we did our research.
Oh no.
My guy's putting out, dude, a lot of videos on YouTube. You're consistent.
It's crazy because continuing on that, we looked up Kofi's YouTube channel, and what's even crazier is that he actually bulked most of what I'm about to say, like in a shorter time period. But if you look at his YouTube channel, he has like over like 470 videos. He's just around that area, and his oldest video is like 4 years old. And if you do the math, he's basically putting out like over 2 videos on average, like 2.2, 2.3 on average per week. Obviously, some months are going to be more of a sprint than others, but the fact that on average, if you look at it over a 4-year period, it's like over 2 videos per week. When people are struggling to upload even once a week, and you've done like freelance background, we're just genuinely curious about output, because a lot of freelancers, I feel like, get stuck in, I don't know, just not being able to put out a lot of work, or maybe they get in their own head and they fall off and they don't post a piece of content for 3 months, and then they come back and then they fall off. How do you stay consistent with output, and how do you manage your day?
So I'll tell you a funny story. And I would say, because in that 4-year period, 2 of those years, I think I only posted less than 30 videos. So 2020, 2021, I think 30 max, I think. 2022, 2023, going to 2024 was like the bulk of stuff. One of the things that I did, and the difference is the reason why I did it in 2022 really started working, I planned a lot of stuff ahead. I think I've told this before, but I planned out about 100 videos in advance in winter 2021, and I refused to start shooting YouTube videos until I was done the 100 list. And then once I was done that list, I wasn't allowed to edit the video ideas. I was only allowed to change maybe the subject matter, but I wasn't allowed to change the video ideas as a whole. And my whole thing was just do the 100. Just do them. Because if you try to change it, if you erase one, if it becomes 97, it's going to become 12 and you're going to do none of them. Just do the 100, and at the end of 2022, worry about if it did well or not later. And that was kind of like we were talking about, like reckless abandon, where I'm like just get it out of the way. They're gonna suck anyway. Like, you're technically year 1.5 of full-time YouTube. I'm 32 now. I've maybe got like 6 years. Like when I'm 38, people are gonna get old and tired of hearing from me. When I'm in 5 years, you're not gonna care about the Sony FX6 Cine EI video in 2022. You don't care. You're gonna watch, but like you got to get that out of the way, right? Because if you keep stalling, people are afraid to suck. I think that's what it is. I think people are sometimes afraid to start creating content because they're afraid to suck at something, and even more so afraid to see other people to see you suck at something, right? Because it's a known fact. Like anything you start you're never gonna have your best years of starting that thing in those first years. The thing with YouTube though is everybody sees it, and it's so discouraging when you like put up a video and someone's like, nobody cares, or we don't care about this, or we wasted my 5 minutes of my life, or whatever. But when you embrace that, you're like, you kind of almost lean into it, right? Like I've had people be like, oh, I'll do an educational video, and someone will comment, oh, water is wet, and I'm like, well, wait till next week, I'll get even more basic, I'll show you how to turn the camera on.
Hey,
and you just
come
move
on,
and you just move on with your day. Or like sometimes when someone leaves a mean comment, or they'll leave like novels, and you've probably had this too.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I just put like, okay,
yeah, hit him with the
got
K.
him.
Hit him with the K.
Just, okay. Like I don't like I'm coming back next week. You're gonna be like, it's either unsubscribe from the channel now, cut yourself early, or be very mad for the next little bit.
You're
like,
right.
You only get the two choices, because I'm like, and I guess it's also because like I was like when I was younger, I had dealt with bullying when I was younger, because I was a big softy kid. I had a really runny nose, and if kids bullying me in like 4th grade was the worst of my life, like I have no emotional attachment to a guy writing on a keyboard.
Wow.
Like, mind you, to be fair, I'm still human. I still got time sometimes. And you know, sometimes you could only slip punches so much that you're like, okay, I'm gonna say something back. You know what I mean? Like you can only eat 15 punches in the face every single day.
Like,
you're like, let me get one back. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's kind of where my thing was with the consistency, was just once you get those first 100 out of the way with reckless abandon, you just like the next 100 are way easier.
Wow.
To the point now where, because I want to put out 100 videos a year until I get to 100,000 subscribers.
Oh,
problem. I'm at 53 videos right now. Solution. I have 16 uploads a month until the year ends.
Hey.
I shot 4 today. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Today.
Yeah.
bro.
So I did a video on the top 10 tips about being a filmmaking creator this morning. I shot a video on camera prep with the Focus Pro. Right now I'm working on an Osmo Pocket 3 video, getting a little clip every day.
Wow.
And there's a camera that has a particular update that's coming out next week. So I did that too.
Bro, this man is locked in. What? How do you
Wow.
how do you manage your day then? So like what time? Like get granular with it. Like what time are you waking up?
What does home look like?
Yeah,
So-
like what time are you sleeping? Like are you sleeping at all?
So it's gonna stress you out. I sleep 7 hours 7 to 7.5 hours.
Wait, that's
exactly every
shocking.
single day.
That's like shocking though, that
so
you
like,
get 7 full hours.
I'll get up at 8. What I try to do is I try to minimize the time between the time that I wake up and the time I start doing stuff. Sometimes that backfires, because you're like, I got to get to this video right away, and you don't realize there's toothpaste on your shirt.
Yeah.
And you got to scrap a video because there's toothpaste on your shirt. So sometimes that runs in your face. But yeah, so I wake up about probably 7, 8 o'clock every single day, and I'm in bed by like midnight 1 every day.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. So throughout the day, do you have like energy dips? Like how are you literally locked in?
Is it coffee?
Yeah,
From 8
no.
to
I don't
12.
drink coffee.
You don't drink any energy? Like,
No, I have an energy drink.
okay, like Celsius or what?
I'm heavy on Ghost now because I came to Canada.
Bro.
We didn't have one.
Nice.
Shout out to Jayhawk. He's a plug.
Hey.
He gave me one Ghost
Johnny.
in condo last year, and I think I've had one almost every other day since.
Hey.
So yeah, he's the plug.
He's
But
fueling the YouTube.
honest to God. But yeah, no. So I'm the type of person where when I wake up in the morning, I'm 100% the entire time. But like it hits I make this joke with my girlfriend. I call it a happening, and it's when I'm so tired at like 12:01 that if I don't I have 5 minutes to get into a bed, or I'm sleeping wherever I am. So like that 8 o'clock till midnight, 100%. Like I'll go locked in. I don't take naps, but like 12:01. If you don't put me to, if I'm outside, if I'm driving, someone put me in the back seat and you're taking me home. I'm falling asleep.
We're talking about 12:01 like noon.
No, he's talking about midnight.
Oh,
Like,
midnight. Okay.
So like
8 a.m. to 12 midnight.
He's locked in.
That's
so
fair.
8 a.m.
100% full steam. The second it hits like midnight to
You're
like
done.
1 o'clock in the morning will require me to sleep for 4 hours in the middle of the day to try
Okay.
to reset things. But even then, like you got me till 1:30.
So
Wow.
how do you have like work-life balance then? Like how do you, like, are there times where you're kind of like putting it away, or do you like how do you
So
fit in your personal life within that 8 to 12?
So I got seasons of push and seasons of pull.
Yeah.
So for me, and I didn't realize this in 2022 when I was trying to get as much out as possible. And then I started to realize the seasonality of YouTube. There are certain times where it's busy, certain times when it's not. Like I would say December, January, almost all of February. Like I was gone. I went to West Africa, I went to Ghana.
Oh, wow.
I
That's
think I
cool.
made 2 videos, and I made like 2 videos, and one of them I already had edited, and I just had to export it on the Wi-Fi. And I didn't do anything. And then I got sick. Like I got sick coming back because I went from Ghana back here, and it was 3 feet of snow. But yeah, I like when I have seasons of pull, I don't do anything. And like if I don't feel like doing something, I just stop doing it. Like there's never like some people will do the whole like I'm gonna go on a social media detox. I'm like I just disappear. There's like these are the time of the channel as much as I've uploaded. Like there's times I didn't post for 3 weeks, and I'm like, I'll come back when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And then when I'm ready, like
You're
strap
going
in.
all
There's
in.
7 videos on the way, but like that 3 weeks, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Bro, that's so good because I feel like some people's sense of consistency with the platform is like, oh, every day. But
Yeah.
like, I love your mindset of like, no, like you can batch. Like when you feel creative, just go all in. You can take days off, which I'm starting to understand that a lot of this routine is influenced by maybe like you playing football growing up.
Yeah. So I think I played, I started playing, I think like grade 5. So I was 11.
Wow.
Right up until third year university. I left the team my senior camp. So year 4. So I was like 24 years old.
Bro.
But yeah, you have the same thing, right? Like that first 3 weeks of your season when you're going to training camp doing 2-a-days for 2 weeks straight. And it's like, it's the hottest of the year.
Yeah.
And your practices are 6 hours long. If I compare that to making YouTube videos, I'm like, this is easy. What do you mean?
I got this.
I gotta get smacked around for 6 hours a day for 2 weeks straight and then play another 10-game season. Or I could play around with cameras, light a bunch of stuff, take my camera to work with me, and then use whatever I record and make videos, and you'll give me money. Canadian football doesn't pay you well. Right? Like when you compare those two things together, I'm like, oh yeah, like YouTube's not.
Do you guys have a league?
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
bro. Canadian Football League.
The Canadian Football League is the University League is twice as old as the NFL.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the Yates Cup in Ontario is twice as old as the Lombardi Trophy.
Bro, one of my buddies told me that Canadian football pays more than the NFL. I'm just playing.
Oh, well, did he hit his head playing the sport? I'm confused.
Oh, man.
The NFL pays so much that you'll get
Yeah,
a lot of
it's-
Canadian guys actually move to the States.
Yeah.
And they'll
There's
do
a lot of
prep
guys
school
in
there.
Miami doing it.
Yeah, and they'll get listed as an American, and you're like, no, you're from Brampton, bro. We know where you're from. But then what ends up happening is they become so expensive. Like they might not make an NFL roster, but then because they have that training, they're so expensive they can't come back to Canada.
Wow.
Or there's a struggle because like an agent's going to be like, yeah, he played for the Cowboys. He was a special teams player, but he played for the Cowboys. So yeah, he is going to be X amount per year.
That's
and
so
you're
good.
stuck,
Yeah.
right? But yeah,
Hey,
I love that concept. Just kind of reiterating what you said regarding the output thing.
Just
I love how
start.
you said like just start, and like you said the push and the pull. Right? There's seasons of sprinting. There's seasons to pull back. But also like talking about when you're doing football, like do something really hard for like a short period, and then everything that was like the baseline for you will feel easy.
yeah.
ooh,
So,
set
like-
the new floor.
Set a new floor
Yeah.
for yourself. Like do something hard, sprint, and so that when you come back to the baseline, it's like, bro, this is cake.
Yeah.
That was like way more brutal when I was doing that.
I also
like-
want to touch on, I'm inspired because, dude, your boy here, I'm starting up my own YouTube.
Hey,
I got Billy behind the camera. He's been helping me.
His like
It's fresh, man. It's
first
like a
2
newborn.
videos are already a banger.
It's a
like,
newborn with diapers on. But hey, what's so cool about it is perfectionism kills.
yes,
Your boy here, I've been a perfectionist because up until this point, it's been a lot of short form videos. And I know a lot of our listeners are creating videos for brands and they're trying to figure out how to put together content even for Instagram Reels where they're speaking to camera. But it takes a month sometimes to put out one video.
yeah,
But I think like I'm inspired by kind of your habits and also your workflow because you learn so much just by doing. And I think it shows with YouTube, bro. Like,
for real.
kidding me?
I think what ends up happening is, and honestly, it probably takes is to doing a really heavy output, is you learn what people expect from you.
Yeah.
And truthfully, and it might be a little bit relieving, it's not that much. Like, no one is going to go to my channel and expect a commercial and a documentary every month. Maybe a couple times a year. Even, you know what? I mean, even if you audit the upper 5-10%.
Yeah.
If you go to like a Mark Bone or Danny's channel, it's still, they're putting out films and amazing stuff. It's in the single digits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So when you put yourself to the whole, like, well, I'm going to do that times 3 times as somebody who's been there for twice as long.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Right. And also the people that are usually watching your channel are people that were you 2 to 3 years ago.
Come on.
Right. So as long as I'm speaking to people that were Kofi in 2020, and I guess in 2024, 2021, you're doing a great job. Right. And also, like, because I think sometimes intrinsically, and I used to feel like this, is I would try to make content for the real filmmakers. And I'm like, why am I trying to cater to someone who doesn't care about me?
Facts.
Right. But the person that's a couple years behind that wants to learn some stuff.
Wow.
If you make videos to teach people that want to learn and not make videos to impress people that are beside you, you're going to have a way easier time, because the people that you're trying to impress legitimately do not care about you.
Hello. That's good.
But the people that are trying to learn stuff feel a type of social reciprocity when, like, if I watch one of Ed's videos, like when I need to get my desk set up, when I need to set my office, like the way that I was looking at apartments being like, yo, my stuff got to look like Ed's. I saw that office.
Bro, Ed's wire tucking videos.
Yeah. And I'm like, my stuff got to look tight. I got to look on point. For no one's going to see it.
Yep.
But I want to learn some stuff. So when I consume that much, you feel like, okay, this person gave me a lot of value.
Wow.
You'll never get that from somebody that is quote unquote at your level, because you're constantly trying to impress somebody that oftentimes don't even, like, they aren't going to be impressed. They're hard.
Yeah.
Why play that game?
So good,
and also,
man.
like, from a financial standpoint, any of my affiliates and my sponsors, I know they're not from, like, people that kind of are the real hardcore. I know they're not from that. So why am I trying to cater towards that crowd? Why am I trying to cater towards the crowd of people that ultimately, technically speaking, aren't even actual fans?
Yeah. You're like leaning into your strengths.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
like
awesome.
that. Know your audience, and then also don't let comparison kill your workflow and like the way that you want to speak to your audience.
Dude.
That's fire.
Also,
Ed?
I think maybe developing a healthy relationship with competition. I came to the realization that when you play sports, particularly contact sports, when you're very young, you know what it's like to put your best efforts ahead and lose. And you process that information at a way younger age. Unfortunately, a lot of people that are artistic that end up finding themselves on YouTube might not have played sports, right? There's a lot of people, even in my niche in filmmaking, that might have never played a sport in their life, went to art school or started filmmaking when they were younger, didn't play anything, and didn't have that experience of, I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm working towards putting my best foot forward, and I still come up short on those things. I got to learn that at like 6 years old playing football. When you get knocked over by someone who's a couple years older than you, there's nothing you can do about it. You learn how to process how to lose. And I'm not saying that when a piece of content doesn't go the right way or when something doesn't go your way, it's a loss per se, but you learn how to process not getting the things that you want, even though you're putting effort towards getting that thing.
That's good.
And one thing and the hard part about that is that a lot of creators are figuring that out in their late teens, 20s, and 30s. And what was great for me when I was playing football and those things happened is it was in private. When I got knocked down, the only people that saw it was the person that did the knocking down and my parents just hoping that I get back up and try again. Where now we're on social media platforms where if something doesn't go your way or something doesn't go right, everybody can see it. And not even everyone can see it, everyone can weigh in on it.
Yeah. Everyone can comment.
Right?
Everyone can share it, talk about it in the DMs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you get used to, when you have a healthy relationship with competing, it doesn't feel like, and a lot of people say that, like, oh, I'm not in a competition with other creators, I'm in a competition with myself. In my head, I'm like, it's kind of any of you listen to Control? Jay Electronica, Kendrick Lamar.
Sounds fire,
love
though.
for you all, but I'm trying to...
Oh, hold up.
So the spirit of that verse was not Kendrick starting beef. What he was trying to say is that by virtue of him elevating his game, it should make you feel uncomfortable enough that you do the same thing.
Wow.
In the spirit of making the sport better.
Wow.
Creators don't know how to do that just yet.
Come on.
Because the way that we look at it is we look at competition sometimes as an attack. We're not necessarily a place of motivation to realize like, hey, you know what? Ed put out a banger video. Okay, like, you know what? When I start making my stuff, I just got to put my best foot forward So I know that when me and Ed start talking, there's a sense of we've walked the same way.
Wow.
Maybe with different shoes on, but we've walked the same way.
Wow.
Because we're putting our best foot forward.
I think there's an interesting
That's
domino
facts.
effect with that, and an effect where it causes people not to, like, if you can be at the same level as someone on YouTube, but like you might not comment on their video, but you're just going to watch what they're doing. And that's another thing that I find that happens in the creator economy. And I think what's so cool is this sense of like, how do we become more community over competition? Because there's enough work to go around.
Yeah.
Collaboration's everything. And then also, I think you said it, it's like some freelancers and some filmmakers and YouTubers just need to get a little bit tougher.
Yeah, you guys
Like,
gotta
bro.
raise the bar.
Yep.
Raise the bar. I definitely catch myself simping sometimes, and I'll catch my like snap out of it. I'll
Bro,
be like,
Ed, you be calling me in tears, man.
Well,
Yeah.
like, at the end of the day, you're watching a person
yeah,
that like they eat, they sleep, they breathe, they do all the stuff you do. And maybe they have a bit of a different inclination to have a certain output in certain things. I'm sure people watch me and they're like, man, I really wish I had Kofi's output. And I'm like, man, I wish I had your free time, or I wish I had something that you had.
Totally.
Right. But then if I want those things, I could watch you and then I could kind of adopt those mentalities to do those things.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And that's the way that it should work. And that's a healthier relationship with competition rather than me saying this person's above me and I have to be down on myself because I'm not there.
fact.
Wow.
Sweet, dude. I mean, I think the competition thing is so good. There's so much good parts of this episode. I think we covered actually a lot of ground in a short amount of time, actually.
So good.
There's so many gems that we got to like go back on and look back at this and try to make it into a concise way. Hopefully people who are listening to this who are either a creator looking to grow a YouTube channel or a freelance video shooter or photo shooter or anywhere in the creative industry, I feel like there's a lot of good practical things to take away from this episode.
So much value, dude. I appreciate you for driving. I mean, I don't know if you were driving, but there was an hour of traffic and we're in your city. So I'm honored to have you on the microphone.
I'm honored to be
And
on
then
it,
also, thanks for being open, man. I think the industry needs more leaders.
Yeah.
Just keep it
especially
real.
on YouTube,
Just
man.
keeping it real.
I consume so much of my time just watching videos on YouTube. And I think you're really paving the way for a lot of filmmakers. And I appreciate it, man. That's great.
No, I appreciate it, man.
Where can where can we send people? Like, where do you want people to go?
YouTube is just my first and last name. That's probably where I'm going to spend the majority of my time. When I'm ready to find my voice on it, I'll probably post more on Instagram, which is I am Kofi Yeboah.
Nice.
And I think that's the same on every other social media platform, on Threads and I'd be in the Threads.
Threads is
I'd be,
nice.
I'd be in the Threads.
I'd be loving
in the
Threads these days.
And TikTok, which I like, it's kind of just like a weird throwaway account of where I put vertical stuff when I feel like it. But no, those are really fun.
We'll link your handles in the description of this episode.
Sick. All right, bet.
Well, thanks for coming on the episode,
Hey,
and
anytime, man.
we'll catch you later.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it, bro.
Peace.